Om Jnanatimidandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragalatam Satam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vidhanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapachubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayana Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Brahmacharya Nirottanam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devyam Saraswati Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiraye
Sodayam Udiraye.
Nasta Presho Badreshu
Nastareshu Navareshu.
Nityam Bhagavat Shevaya Bhagavad Yuttama Shloke Mukti Bhavati Naistaki. Today, Thursday, June 5th, 2025, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 28, King Puranjana becomes a woman in his next life. Today, we are looking at text number 48. Utishta Tishta Rajarshe Imam Udhadi Me Kalam Dasyubhya Kshatra Bandhubhyo Vibhyatim Apatum Arhasi Utishta Tishta Rajarshe Imam Udadi Me Kalam Dasyubhya Kshatra Bandhubhyo Vibhyatim Patum Arhasi Utishto Tishta Rajarshe Imam Udadi Me Kalam Dasyubhya Kshatra Bandhubhyo Vibhyatim Apatum Arhasi Utishto Tishta Rajarshe Umam Udadi Me Kalam Dasyubhya Kshatra Bandhubhyo Vibhyatim Apatum Arhasi Utishto Tishta Rajarshe
Imam Udadi Me Kalam Dasyubhya Kshatra Bandhubhyo
Vibhyatim Patum Arhasi Utishto Tishta Rajarshe
Imam Udadi Me Kalam
Umam Udadi Me Kalam
Dasyubhya Kshatra Bandhubhyo
Dasyubhya Kshatra Bandhubhyo
Vibhyatim Patum Arhasi
Vibhyatim Patum Arhasi. Right, synonyms. Please repeat. Utishta. Please get up. Utishta. Please get up. Raja Rishe. O saintly king. Imam, this earth, Udadi, by the ocean, Mekalam, surrounded, Dasyubhyaha, from the rogues, Chatrabandhubhyaha, from the unclean kings, Bibyatin, very much afraid, Patum, to protect, Arhasi, you ought. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. O best of kings, please get up, get up. Just see this world surrounded by water and infested with rogues and so-called kings. This world is very much afraid, and it is your duty to protect her. Please repeat. O best of kings, please get up, get up.
Please get up, get up.
Just see this world surrounded by water
Just see this world surrounded by water.
and infested with rogues and so-called kings.
Infested with rogues and so-called kings.
This world is very much afraid,
This world is very much afraid.
and it is your duty to protect her.
It is your duty to protect her.
Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Whenever an Acharya comes, following the superior orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or his representative, he establishes the principles of religion as enunciated in Bhagavad Gita. Real religion means abiding by the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Religious principles begin from the time one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the Acharya's duty to spread a bona fide religious system and induce everyone to bow down before the Supreme Lord. One executes the religious principles by rendering devotional service, specifically the 9 items like hearing, chanting, and remembering. Unfortunately, when the Acharya disappears, rogues and non-devotees take advantage and immediately begin to introduce unauthorized principles in the name of so-called swamis, yogis, philanthropists, welfare workers, and so on. Actually, human life is meant for executing the orders of the Supreme Lord, and this is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:34. Manmana bhava madbhakto majjaji mam namaskuru mam evaishyasi yutvaivam atmanam matvarayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me and become my devotee. Offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. The main business of human society is to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at all times, to become his devotees, to worship the Supreme Lord and to bow down before him. The Acharya, the authorized representative of the Supreme Lord, establishes these principles, but when he disappears, things once again become disordered. The perfect disciples of the Acharya try to relieve the situation by sincerely following the instructions of the spiritual master. At the present moment, practically the entire world is afraid of rogues and non-devotees. Yes. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is started to save the world from irreligious principles. Everyone should cooperate with this movement in order to bring about actual peace and happiness in the world. Utishta utishta rajarshe imam udhadime kalam dasyubhyak kshatra bandhubhyo vibhyatim patum arasi. O best of kings, please get up, get up. Just see this world surrounded by water and infested with rogues and so-called kings. This world is very much afraid, and it is your duty to protect her. Mukham karoti vachalam angam lagayate girim jadkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam. So those who engage in deity worship are trained to chant mantras like Utishta Utishta, Utishta Utishta Jagata. I don't know those mantras anymore, but I used to. I had a piece of paper with the mantras. Wake the deities, chanting the mantras on the piece of paper, the authorized instructions. Utishta Utishta. Get up, please wake up. And you can just imagine Vaidarbhi, her husband's lifeless body is there. And she's, get up. But he is not going to get up. And we see that people lament when someone dies. Oh, don't die, don't leave me. Open your eyes. Don't go away. So this is the lamentation of Vaidarbhi when her husband has left his body. But she's going to collect herself, as we'll see, get it together, build a funeral pyre, put his body on it, and light it up. So she's not just lost in lamentation, although there is some grieving there. And Srila Prabhupada, a wonderful purport here. He says that when the Acharya comes, he creates order out of chaos by preaching the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his representatives, and establishes the principles of religion. And that's exactly what Prabhupada obliquely refers to Bhagavad Gita here. Yada yada hi dharmasya Glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam tadatmanam. What's the last one? Natman srijami aham. And then paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskitam dharma samstarpanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna says that for his purposes of checking the demons and protecting the devotees, he manifests himself. Sambhavami yuge yuge. Time and time again, millennium after millennium. Dharma samstarpanataya, not only to protect the devotees, but dharma samstarpanataya, to establish the principles of religion. And but it doesn't, because it's the material world and the conditioned souls are somewhat hell-bent on not following the principles of religion, then this gradually becomes lost in due course of time, and he has to come again. That's just the way it goes in the material world. So that's what the Acharya does. But then, and then he mentions, again referring to Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat pranitam navai vido rishyo napi deva. That the real principles of religion, shakshat bhagavat, are directly given by the Lord himself, enunciated by him. And others, they mostly don't know the principles of religion. What does he say? Navai vido rishyo napi deva. The great learned persons, the vidurs, the rishyo, the rishis, neither devaha, the demigods, they can't understand what to speak of. Nasida mukya sara manusha patona vidyarada charada. What to speak of the vidyaradas, the charanas, the mukyas, the chiefs amongst the chief leaders of society. Nasida, but perfected beings. The Siddhamukya, Asura Manusha, the demons and the Manusha, the mankind. People don't know. That's from the 3rd chapter of the 6th canto, 19th verse. So who knows? Well, the very next verse, he says, who knows? And that is Swayambhur Narada Shambhu Kumari Kapilo Manu Pralada Janaka Bhishmo Balir Vyasakir Vyam. The great Mahajanas, they know the real principles of religion. And therefore, it is said in the Mahabharata, Dharmasya Tatvam Nihitam Guhayam Mahajano Yenagata Sapanta. You have to follow in the footsteps of the Mahajanas because they are Dharmasya Tatvam Nihitam Guhayam. They, within their hearts, that is where the real truth of religious principles are hidden, confidentially hidden. And therefore, Mahajana Yena Gata Sapanta. That path, Panta, the way that is chalked out by the great authorities, then one has to follow in their footsteps in order to achieve success in human life. And that success means abiding by the orders of the Lord. And Prabhupada makes a very powerful statement here that religious principles begin from the time when one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So did you surrender yet? If you didn't surrender, then the real religious principles have not begun. But the real religion, spoken by the Acharya, begins when one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, you better hurry up and surrender now. They used to have, we'll take questions at the end. They used to, in the old St. Louis Temple, I was there. It was an old house in a bad neighborhood. And the neighborhood was so bad, they used to say about that neighborhood, you see a guy walking off the porch of the house with the TV in his hand, and the guy comes home, "What are you doing, my TV?" He said, "You called for TV repairman, right?" No, he was just stealing the TV. That was the neighborhood. And they used to have the Sankirtan vans parked on the street there, and they would always be breaking into the vans, but they would never steal the books. The books were safe. What were they going to do with the books? Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. What were they going to do with the books? No, they're not interested in the books. You have an 8-track tape player in the van? Okay, we'll steal that. Are you leaving some sunglasses in there? We'll take that. But the books were safe. Didn't even have to lock the vans. Go ahead, just go ahead. There's nothing in there but the books. They go in there, oh, it's just the books. Who cares? Can't do anything with the books.
There's a saying that says, those who steal don't read, those who read don't steal.
And we know the story of Sanatana Goswami. So someone had heard that he had a touchstone in his possession. And a touchstone, you can touch it to like ordinary iron, and it turns it into gold. It's the Midas touch. So gold is very expensive and very valuable. So you can quickly and easily get some gold if you have the touchstone, right? So someone heard that he had touchstone, and they want to get that touchstone from him. And so they went to him, "Oh, Sadhu, I hear you have the most valuable thing, the touchstone. Can you give it to me?" He says, "The touchstone? It's over there in the rubbish heap, in the garbage pile." What? Yes, you can go there and take it. So he went and he took it. I got the touchstone. And he slunk away with the touchstone in his possession. And then he got some distance and he thought, well, wait a minute. Why is the touchstone being kept in the rubbish heap? That's where you throw the most undesirable, unwanted things. And he's keeping this valuable touchstone in the rubbish heap. So he went back. Oh, Sadhu, if this is the most valuable thing, why are you keeping in the rubbish heap? He goes, oh, that is not the most valuable thing. Well, what is the most valuable thing? Can you give it to me? Yes, but first you have to throw the touchstone back into the rubbish heap and forget about it. I have to do that? Well, if you want the most valuable thing, you have to throw that away. Then I can give you the most valuable thing. Okay. So he throws the touchstone back into the garbage heap, very reluctantly, thinking, what have I got myself into now? I had the touchstone and I threw it away. All right, so what is the most valuable thing? He's thinking, what is it? Is it better than gold? Is it platinum? Is it titanium? Is it unobtainium? What is it? And then he gave him the holy name of Krishna. This is the most valuable thing. So that's very instructive as to understanding what is the most valuable thing. So the most valuable thing is to follow the religious principles. Of course, the real religious principle for this age is the chanting of the holy names. That is the most valuable thing. And that fact would be very astonishing to an ordinary person who is calculating in terms of material wealth and possessions and sense gratification. If that's the most valuable thing, just chanting, singing Hare Krishna, yes. So, this person who was approaching Sanatana Goswami, to get the most valuable thing, he had to surrender. And then his real religious life began, and he got the holy name from Sanatana Goswami. So we have to surrender to Krishna. And then one's real religious life actually begins when one surrenders. So you could look at this from different angles, and you could say, well, I may have officially surrendered. You know, look at me. Don't I look like I'm surrendering? Well, look what's in your heart, and you tell me whether you are surrendered or not. What is in your heart? Who knows what evil lurk in the hearts of men? Yes, only the shadow knows, but actually the Paramatma knows. And the pure devotee, he knows. As we have discussed here before about Srila Prabhupada. People would receive Srila Prabhupada's glance, and immediately they could understand. He knows everything about me. He sees right through me. He sees through my mask, my facade, my veneer of civility that I present to the world. But lurking within the core of my heart are so many dark and pernicious material desires. Not dark and pernicious like to, become a, serial killer or something like that, but dark and pernicious to enjoy sense gratification and try to place oneself in the position as if one were himself God and everything were meant for his enjoyment. And that is who God is. He is that supreme person for whom everything is meant for his enjoyment, because everything is owned by him, everything is controlled by him, everything is meant to be offered by him, offered to him, including one's one's words, one's intelligence, one's money, and one's life. At least one of the four, and ideally all four. And if you don't have any money, that's okay. Just give your whole life. And Prabhupada exhorted us, why not just give this one life to Krishna? You have had so many lifetimes which you obviously and clearly did not give to Krishna. Let's face the facts. Because if you had, then you would no longer be here in this material world. You would have gone back to the spiritual world. So just give this one life. You might think, oh, that's such a gamble. But the result is far beyond anything else you've ever achieved. And Prabhupada goes on to say that how does one surrender and execute the religious principles? By following the processes of devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. By Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, chanting, Vishnu Smaranam, remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, and all the other processes, Archanam, worshiping the deity, Vandanam, offering prayers, Dasyam, becoming a servant, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam, making Krishna one's best friend or becoming the best friend of Krishna, and Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything to Krishna, which is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is teaching us that we should do. Atma Nivedanam, give everything to Krishna. But unfortunately, Prabhupada says, when the Acharya disappears, what happens? Rogues and non-devotees and pseudo-devotees and so-called swamis, yogis, philanthropists, welfare workers, etc. They take advantage of the absence of the Acharya and begin to introduce unauthorized principles. And we see there's this controversy going on about devotees introducing unauthorized principles, like principles of succession and initiation, that are not part of the Vaishnav canon and are not authorized and are concocted in the name of religion, giving false interpretations on the statements and the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. But human life is not meant for this deviation and this concoction, which is just a tendency of the conditioned souls, generally who want to establish themselves in a superior position. But human life is actually meant for following the orders of the Acharya and executing the orders of Lord Krishna, which are given in the Bhagavad Gita, 9:34. Manmana bhava mad bhakto majjaji mam namaskuru mame vaishachi yukvaivam atmana madparayanaha. And this verse is repeated later by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, but with the different third and fourth padas, which is what is it? Not written down here. Mame Vaishasi Mame Vaishasi Satyante Pratijane Priyosime. The same verse. So it must be an important verse if Krishna, out of the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, repeats it in the first half, word for word, with the same meaning, that manmana, just think of me. And Prabhupada says that if human society would just execute this order of Krishna, Manmana, think of me, Bhavamad Bhakto, become my devotee. Majjaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru, bow down and offer your obeisances to me. Like non-devotees, they get a real kick out of devotees offering obeisances. They get a real kick out of that. They think that's so like Tarzan movie primitive kind of thing to do, right? Bow down, Kalima, bow down to the mountain or the volcano or the thunderstorm or whatever, just like some primitive, aboriginal jungle dwellers who are very unsophisticated. That is bowing down. Modern men, we do not bow down. There was one time in Los Angeles, Prabhupada was in his garden, and he would receive visitors in the afternoon, and they would bring different professors and learned men. And one such professor, he came several times, and he heard from Srila Prabhupada. And he also saw the devotees' activities and lifestyle. And then, devotees would come into the garden, they would bow down to Srila Prabhupada. The professors are sitting there very stiffly in their chairs, kind of uncomfortable. These people bow down to Srila Prabhupada. Because he is a man, just like I am a man. No, he is a spiritual master, an empowered representative of Krishna. And you're an ordinary man. So don't just think that, Atmavan Manyate Jagat. I'm an ordinary man. I'm a rascal, then therefore everyone else is like me. Everyone else is an ordinary man and everyone else is a rascal. That's called Atmavan Manyate Jagat. That whatever I think, Atmavan Manyate Jagat, the whole universe thinks the same way. Everyone is just like me. But this professor, after a few visits, he said to Srila Prabhupada, finally, in one darshan, he said, I have never bowed down to anyone, but Swami, I bow down to you. And he offered his obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. And the devotees were amazed. Professors in their ties and starched collars and sport coats. And he bowed down to Srila Prabhupada because he recognized by hearing and by Srila Prabhupada's transcendental influence that here was a person, a superior person, a person of spiritual knowledge, a person who knows God. And that is someone you can bow down to. That's the only person you should bow down to, and that's worth bowing down, therefore he did. And then another time, Srila Prabhupada was in Seattle, and one learned man, a professor, seeing the devotees offer obeisances, said, I don't see why they're bowing down to you. He said, I bow down to no man. And Srila Prabhupada said, but you will bow down. Everyone bows down to death. Because what happens at the time of death? Kaboom, crumple. If you're standing, you fall over. Everyone bows down to death. Just like when they had the Jim Jones cult in Guyana, and they gave everyone the poison Kool-Aid, and then they showed the photograph. Everyone face down in the dirt. So everyone bows down to death. Therefore, death is superior to you because you have to bow down to death. Think about the implications of that. The power of the Lord, who in Bhagavad Gita says, I am all devouring death. He is more powerful than you, and you have to bow down to him. What to speak of birth and old age and disease in so many ways, you have to bow down. You have to submit. You cannot remain defiant despite your bodily strength or your intellectual prowess or your good looks or whatever it is that you're proud of, your possessions, your money, your bank account, your house, your family. You are under the control of superior energy, and that superior energy is God. And it manifests in different ways. And you have to bow down. You have to submit. You cannot resist. You cannot remain defiant. You have to surrender. So instead of waiting for death to take you and force you to surrender, Prabhupada makes the point, why not bow down now? Why not surrender to God now? Recognize that He is superior to you and you are under His control. Therefore, Mam, what did we say? Mam namaskuru. Bow down. Offer your obeisances. So, like I say, modern culture and society doesn't get it. And they're so tickled by that. Back in the 70s, when people were not familiar with the devotees so much, would come to the temple and see the devotees bow down. They had their camera. Take pictures of the devotees bowing down. This is going to be great. Put this in the newspaper. Right? They're bowing down. That's just classic. Classic cultists. Bowing down. But this very learned professor recognized that Srila Prabhupada was a superior person, and therefore he did voluntarily bow down and not remain defiant. So if human society follows this formula, manmana, think of Krishna. Bhava mad bhakto, become a devotee, become my devotee, Krishna says. Mad bhakta, my devotee. Then Mad's jaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru. Mam, he's saying mam. Mam means my. Me. Unto me. Offer your obeisances unto me. And then being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. And then Srila Prabhupada says here, this is the second time in recent verses we've encountered this phrase, main business. We heard before, is Jamuna there? Main business is combing the hair, right? We heard recently. Now here, the real main business of human society is to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at all times. Become His devotee, worship the Supreme Lord, and bow down before Him. So this is what Srila Prabhupada, who's authorized Acharya, has established and is teaching us. But once the Acharya disappears, then the miscreants begin to creep in and try to change the orders in different ways. And again, things become disordered. But, however, there's a saving grace. The perfect disciples of the Acharya try to relieve the situation by sincerely following the instructions of the spiritual master. So by that sincere following, then things become rectified. And presently in human society, chaos rules. Prabhupada says, practically the entire world is afraid of rogues and non-devotees. In fact, what a statement of our times. You have these different dictators, and even in the world's greatest democracy, you have leaders who try to become dictators by different machinations, which are unconstitutional and illegal. But that doesn't stop them. They try somehow or other to get around and push their agenda and use their power for their own aggrandizement. We see this going on. And Prabhupada says, therefore, this Krishna conscious movement is started to save the world from irreligious principles. That's what will save the world, is the following of religious principles. And his concluding statement, quite wonderful. Everyone should cooperate with this movement in order to bring about actual peace and happiness in the world. A lofty goal, a utopian goal, some would say. But the Sankirtan movement, the congregational chanting of the holy names, that has the power to bring about actual peace and happiness in the world. And the more it spreads, the more that happens. So this is a very amazing, wonderful purport that Srila Prabhupada has given us. Let's see, what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, there's a very nice verse in the seventh chapter of the first canto. Anarto pashamam shakshad bhakti yogam adhoksajay lokasya janato vidvans chakre satvata samhitam. That the different anartas, the different miseries and unwanted things which bedevil us, human beings in the material world, anarto pashamam shakshad, these can be mitigated by bhakti yogam adhoksajay, by performing devotional service to Adhoksaja, the inconceivably powerful and flawless Supreme Lord. Lokasya janato vidvans, but the mass of people don't know this. Human society is in ignorance. Lokasya janato vidvans. Nobody knows what is the real situation, the real secret. Nobody knows that this real business in the human form of life is to follow the orders of Krishna. Therefore, Chakre Satvata Samhitam, Srila Vyasadeva has compiled this Satvata Samhita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, to give direction to human society and therefore ameliorate the sufferings of everyone just by taking to Krishna consciousness. Everyone can ameliorate their sufferings. Does that mean that poof, my mature body will become great and beautiful and eternally youthful? No. The material body and whatever karma is stored up, that will continue. But after leaving this body, chaktva deham punarjanma, naiti mameti sarjana, you can get a body that's perfect and beautiful and youthful and disease-free. That's a spiritual body. Because naiti mameti sarjana, not taking birth again, naiti mam, but instead going back to Krishna, that means casting aside this material body and never taking another material body, never taking another birth, but becoming reinstated in one's original spiritual existence, which is such chit ananda, eternal, full of bliss, and completely free from any type of suffering or ignorance. Sat chit ananda. One is in full knowledge eternally, and one is eternally blissful. And that is our real existence. And because that is our real existence, no wonder we're having such a tough go of it in the material world, because we're thinking we're this temporary product of matter. We're convinced that we are these bodies. We're convinced that we are products of the material energy. And we're acting accordingly in that ignorance, in that illusion. But when we follow Krishna's program and surrender to him, then you don't have to take another birth. And your real form is manifest. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. And so, problem solved. What are the real problems of life? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Like our friend told us. He said, how's it going? I said, oh, There's a lot of birth, death, old age, and disease going around. It's a real problem. He says, you sound like a parrot. Then his mother got sick and she passed away, and then he came back. He told me, you know, this material world is full of birth, death, old age, and disease. I said, hey, parrot head. What goes around comes around, huh? He goes, yeah, I'm sorry I said that. He said, you were right. Birth, death, old age, and disease. It's everywhere. It's the problem. I'm getting old myself. I know that's not just my mother, it's me too. It's going to happen. So, and then as far as the family, members of the family, especially one's parents, who one is very attached to one's parents, they're very dear to one because they nurture and shelter one and provide all facilities for a good life, beginning in childhood, and one is very attached to the parents. But Srila Prabhupada said in his poem, Vrindavan Bhajan, where's my mother and my father now? Where are all my relatives? Where's everybody who was so affectionate to me when I was a child? They're all gone now. Where are my own people now? They're all gone. All that's left is just a list of names. And then he says, it gives me a laugh. Just see the play of Maya, samsara, on the living entities. And everyone is tinged with the smell of Maya, like you get some stinky thing on your hands and you can't get it off. Everyone is like, you know, it's this body, the stench of Maya and the play of Maya. He said, it gives me a laugh. Today, he said, I have seen the naked form of Maya, how she is bewildering and enchanting the living entities. Why is he seeing like that? Because he's a staunch devotee. And not just a regular staunch devotee, he's like a mega staunch devotee who, after he wrote that poem, went on to deliver the Krishna conscious movement all around the world. It's not an ordinary devotee. He's an acharya for the ages, the most prominent acharya in the Kali Yuga, by spreading the Krishna conscious movement. So he said, it gives me a laugh. I see now the tricks of Maya. Sitting alone in Vrindavan, contemplating his existence, and simultaneously praying to Sri Rupa and Sri Jiva Goswami, whose samadhis were right there next to his residence. You please empower me to carry out the orders of my spiritual master, to spread this movement all over the world. I mean, when you go to bed at night, you're thinking, how am I going to spread the Krishna conscious movement all over the world? Oh, Rupa, oh, Jiva, kindly help me. Crying and willing to, are we like that? I can't speak for everyone, but I know I'm not like that. I'm like, you know, just save me from Maya, Krishna, please. So, but we try to relieve the anxiety of Srila Prabhupada by carrying out his instructions and cooperating with this movement. And everyone in human society should cooperate with this movement. And then that will bring about, if everyone does, actual peace and happiness in the world. All right. Thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Realizations? Inquiries? We have a question, O Fire? Okay.
I'm going to be offended, so I'd rather that.
You know, we talked about this before, you know, like we're speaking of surrender, and sometimes we surrender, we find ourselves, you know, it's very difficult, it's very difficult to, what does it mean to be surrendered? That's essentially the question. What does that actually mean? What does that look like?
Well, Prabhupada defines it here. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. But what might we do instead of those things? Well, we might hear and chant some nonsense. We might remember something other than the lotus feet of the Lord. We might try to satisfy our own desires, either gross or subtle. But for devotees, it's mostly subtle. But it may be gross also. It may be masking something and then something gross is there. So you have to come to the point of give it up for Krishna, give it all up for Krishna. Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy, our 6 enemies. Give it up. That won't make you happy. Or like the story of the wedding party. They all got into the boat to go to the next village for the wedding the next day. Everyone gets in the boat. Tonight, they all fall asleep. The boatman's rowing all night. They wake up in the morning, they haven't gone anywhere. Oh, because what happened? Forgot to pull up the anchor. So if you want to ply smoothly on the path, the river, back home, back to Godhead, we'll pull up the anchor. What is that anchor? Attachment to sense gratification, both gross and subtle. And not fully embracing oneself as the servant of the Lord. It's a tall order. It's a very tall order. We all have a long way to go. But we have to pull up that anchor or cut that rope which is attached to the anchor. So Bhagavatam tells us, slash the hard knots in the heart with the sword of knowledge. So become educated in Krishna consciousness and practice this process very nicely. And then that chanting of Hare Krishna dissolves the false ego, which is our anchor, our attachment to our concepts of ourselves as an enjoyer of this material energy, which we are constitutionally not. And it will never make us happy, no matter how madly attached we are. That will never make us happy. Only by surrender will we become happy. And we get glimpses of that when we surrender in little ways. We get glimpses of that taste of nectar. And then Lord Chaitanya says in Shikshastakam that chanting gives us that taste of nectar for which we are always fully anxious, but not getting in the material world. The material taste is just pale. It's rotten, stinky, disgusting. And we think, oh, it is very nice, but it is not good for us. Okay, so thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.